Good afternoon, everybody. Burl Workman here with Workman Success Systems. Welcome to our RISMedia webinar series. Today sponsored by Homes.com, and we have a fantastic webinar today. As a matter of fact, as we were getting ready for this, I was getting more and more excited as we're talking about how to stop spinning your wheels looking for strangers when there's gold right there in your own database. And then we're going to talk about how to mine for that gold, how to sift through the crap to get to the real nuggets that are there. And we've got a couple of amazing presenters with us today. Before we get started, let me just do a couple of housekeeping items. The first one is I want to remind everybody to stay on till the very end. At the end of the webinar, we're going to give you a link where you'll be able to download some valuable information that's being given to us by both Terry Murphy and by Brooke Sines. We also want you to know that if you have a question, you can click on the chat box and you can just type your question in there. We're monitoring questions during the call itself. And also, if you have questions, we'd love to hear from you. So if you have questions for either of our panelists or a sponsor, our partner with Homes.com, just ask the questions and I'll monitor those questions during the call. So at the end, we can break and have natural places where you can ask those questions. You know, I'm going to say more than 20 years now, I have been working with and learning from the great Terry Murphy. Terry Murphy is a speaker. She's an author. She's one of our master level coaches at Workman Success Systems. But most importantly, my kids can think she's Aunt Terry. From the time they were little to the time they've become adults and have their own children, Terry's been an important part of their lives. She's one of the few people that I know that lives the law of creating lifetime relationships better than anybody I know. It's not just something she talks about, it's something she lives and it's who she is. She does Murphy on Real Estate.com if you want to listen to her podcast. She's a speaker, an author, a coach. She does amazing, great things. She was a top producing agent out of Chicago for over 24 years. And I love, we all talk about building teams today, and you get to 20, 30 houses and you start needing to get an assistant, and you sell 60 houses. You need to have a couple buyer's agents. Terry was listing and selling over 100 houses a year all by herself. And when interest rates were in the double digits, when real estate was really hard. And so she not only knows the business, but she knows how to do well in a difficult market. She's published books. She's been on ABC, NBC, CNBC News. She's a regular consultant to a lot of real estate associations, actually inside of real estate and outside of real estate. She's internationally known, and she's produced for television. She's just a great person. You'll see Terry live on our Workman Success training programs and others. So she's just great to be here. So Terry, thank you for being here. I'm excited to have you.
Oh, well, I'm excited to be here too, and thank you for that nice, great introduction. Now you get to do Miss Brooke.
And so Brooke is like Terry's overachieving first child.
Overachieving
first child. So Brooke Sines she's a full-time real estate. She's a senior coach with Workman Success Systems, but most importantly, she's a realtor with RE/MAX of Grand Rapids. In Brooke's first year as an agent, she was awarded the Rising Star Award for excellence. She carries designation. She's huge on continuing education. She's getting great at the business. She's a GRI, an ABR, an MRP, an IREP, and as part of her local real estate association's leadership academy, she's involved in making a difference in helping elevate the quality of agents around her. I think the last time I was involved in an event in Michigan, I was part of the WCR chapter, wasn't it, Brooke, where you were involved with WCR, and I came out and did an event for you there. So I know she's involved in all these different areas of real estate, which I love. It was her love for her people in real estate that led Brooke's strong desire to help others and become a real estate coach and really focus on team building. And she does that with Workman Success Systems. She's been told over and over by her clients that it's her dedication to personalized guidance that sets her apart from everybody else. She's an unbelievable communicator. She treats every coaching client as her number one priority, and they feel like they're her only client. And she's a true expert in her field. And just a personal thing about Brooke is, are you guys all hearing me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. I just had a couple of messages saying they weren't hearing me, but a personal thing about Brooke is Brooke looks like she is so nice, but when you get in her way, when she's got a goal in front of her, she will tear down mountains to get through to her goal. She is driven and focused, and her drive and focus starts with her drive and focus on being a great mother and a great wife and having a great family. And she carries that into every aspect of her personal life that carries into her business. Business is the means to the end of having a great family. And that's what I respect most about Brooke. Brooke, thank you for being here. And I'm excited to hear your thoughts today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for that nice introduction. And yes, our Women's Council of Realtors attendees still ask when you're coming back. So we appreciated you coming here.
I'll be back. That was a fun event. You know, we have an opportunity from time to time to get great sponsors for these RISMedia webinars, but Homes.com is more than a sponsor. They're a true partner, and what that means is they work so close with our agents and with the industry on creating an environment and technology and tools and systems that allow agents to succeed and to grow their business. And so I'll be sharing a bunch of things about Homes.com over the upcoming year with future events that they're going to be working with. But we want Homes.com to know that we appreciate them as a partner. Tim Babara is a sales manager for Homes.com, and his role and responsibility is to connect real estate brokers and agents with the 12.5 million consumers that are every month going on and looking through brand advertising, lead generation, online reputation, and marketing solutions. He's a piano player and most importantly a Dodger fan, which I think is kind of fun.
Yeah, not last 2 years, but yeah, definitely it's fun.
You know, they've had some good runs, and I'm sure that they're due for another one.
Well, we'll see what happens this year, bro. I mean, we did some signings. We'll see what happens.
Well, Tim,
bro,
I appreciate you being here.
Good to be here. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I appreciate you being here. Give us a quick snapshot of what's, what are a couple of underutilized tools or new things that Homes.com are doing to make a difference?
Well, bro, first of all, thanks for hosting a great show. I think you're doing a fabulous job here. Doing it with the RISMedia today, and also thank Terry and Brooke for being here as well. And we're looking forward to really how we're going to take some of the information that we take today and really just apply it into our daily lives and our business. But a little bit about Homes.com. I think you said it right there in the introduction. We definitely thank you for that. We are a partner in the industry. My question, bro, you being in real estate, how do we leverage like online presence? Since we're talking about the topic today, we're not spinning our wheels on certain things, but let me ask you this: how do we leverage online presence to build relationships?
Well, we do it with technology. It's done through technology. Okay. It's the one to many. It's permission-based ability to stay at the front of the mind of someone who shows interest.
Right. And I think when you use that model really to approach anything, Homes.com. We come in as a partner to agents and brokers, and some of the things that we're doing is we're branding, like you mentioned, agents as citywide experts, really just establishing that connection with consumers and buyers that are coming into Homes.com. So I think at the end of the day, when you use something like this as leverage to build your relationships, Homes.com definitely is a great partner in that. And, there's just some great things. And, we can talk about more about throughout this whole webinar, really just the events that are coming up. But we are definitely setting up agents in their market to be the local market expert. And we're just so happy to be a partner in the industry, bro.
Well, we appreciate all that you do and encourage agents that are on the webinar to just check out Homes.com, look at it, do a consult, let them look at your strategy and see if there's a way that you can do business together.
Yeah, it'd be a great opportunity to call in and talk about how we can position them to be the city expert and really just to set them up in terms of any type of lead generation and just really help them. And, I'm looking forward to today to hear Brooke and Terry, to see what they got to say in terms of relationships and really just establishing, their business. And I know that Homes.com could play a role in that and be part of relationship nurturing when it comes to their online presence. So, yeah, give us a call. We're here and we're excited for today, bro.
Thanks, Tim, and we appreciate your continued involvement. So let's jump in, Terry. When we came up with a topic for this webinar, we survey our audience and we say, hey, what do you guys want to hear about? They want to hear about, how do we stop buying all of our leads and start capitalizing on the opportunities that we should be entitled to by building greater relationships? And you were the first person I thought of. And so, Terry, tell me what it means to you when we say stop buying leads and start capitalizing on the gold that's in your database. What do you mean by that?
Well, real estate is the one place where everybody says, oh, like get the 250 people you'd invite to your wedding or your funeral and, tell them you're in real estate. Well, that's great. But to stand out, the lowest hanging fruit are the people who already know, like, and trust you. And that's been proven for 100 years. And yeah, technology will help everybody know that. But the people who already know, like, and trust you are all the way up the stairs on that paradigm for how we take a suspect to a prospect to a client to a customer. Those people already know you. And so everybody wants to feel special, Verl. Everybody wants to feel special. You can't be special to 10,000 people, but you can be really special to top 50. I'd like to call them my most valuable partners, the people that would recognize me and refer me in a New York second. They go, listen, and we all have restaurants that we love, or hairdressers, or services that we like, and we have no problem saying, hey, if you want a great steak, go to such and such a restaurant. So why is it so hard? Because the mindset has to be changed. The top 50, the power of the people that we know, like, and trust us is not about asking, but it's about giving. We're going to get by giving. So if you're thinking you're going to badger these people for a referral, you're on the wrong seminar. This is about connecting with people in a way that is gracious and giving and that works both ways. So we want to set it up correctly, because there's a mindset that if I talk to these people every month, they're going to get tired of hearing from me. And, how do I find them? And so today, between Brooke and I'm going to give you some of the whys, and she's going to share with you some of the hows. So if you think about a special community, belonging to a special community, you identify those top 50 people. And by the way, as a coach, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people get stuck at 35. But here's why: because they don't think of people outside the box that they help every day in the real estate industry. I mean, think about it. We refer contractors and painters and plumbers and home inspectors. I mean, we give a lot of people money, but there's no organized way, if you're not comprehensive and consistent, to make them understand that you're giving them business. And so it makes really good sense, right, to deploy the power of reciprocity. And Verl, you and I both know that Cialdini wrote a great book on that. It was a national bestseller, The Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. And one of the 6 is reciprocity. If I refer you a whole bunch of times, you're going to think about me. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. You get by giving. It's a life principle.
Well, it is for me, because everybody that I know does a great job. I want to be their emissary. I want to be their broadcaster, because when you have a 50s group, and you are creating this specialness, this most valuable partner kind of thing, it feeds that need for connection in a positive way that's mutually beneficial. So why wouldn't it work? And all you have to do as an agent is to deploy the systems. And we do that beautifully in this book that you wrote with Mike Parker, the 8651. It's the handbook for how to do, if you do the math, 86 transactions in a year, working 50 people and only once a month. Would you want to explain on that any at all? Do you want to give them your
1 hour? It was 1 hour a day, but it's yeah. So the thing that we talked about in the pre-call, Terry, and you brought this up, and I thought it was brilliant. You said that identifying your top 50 is simply identifying the 50 people in your life that are most likely to give you 1 referral a year. So who are the 50 people in your life that are most likely to give you 1 referral a year? And then develop a program to stay at the front of their mind, so that when real estate comes up, they think of you first. And then we teach them that they're part of that special group of top 50, and all we're counting on them for is that 1 referral a year. And what we found is that the ones that really work the program well generate a lot more than 1 referral a year from their top 50 list.
Yeah, and Brooke's going to show you how brilliantly she makes sure that she and her entire team does that. But here's what we did. At Workman Success, we realized that we could tell people this, but we had to show them what they could do every month as an option. And so in the back of the 8651 book, there is basically how you can, on a monthly basis, be creative about a quote-unquote meaningful touch. And that means that you've identified the people who already know, love, and trust you, who'd be just delighted to give you 1 referral a year. And what you're doing is setting up a comprehensive touch program so that you're top of mind and you can refer them. So you're looking at a top 50 list, and this happens to be Brooke's. And you'll see that she was smart enough to include a few other things like the profession, because this isn't just about events and giveaways and parties and coffee. It's really about a meaningful touch. And so if you know, as an example, that it's tax time, you might want to deliver something special to your tax guy. But you'll notice that if you go to the next slide, that we have the ways to touch people, but at the end of the day, it's all about multiple ways to touch people. This is not an email, this is not a text, although it can include both. It's literally seeing somebody face to face, being very mindful of what they're doing. So it's you know that you're continuing to nurture the relationship every time in a meaningful and non-threatening way. And you have, with their profession, you have a much easier way to refer them. But when you have an idea of how to have fun while you're doing it, it's a series of touches that really helps you help them. And in the best scenario, when you really work this little group, they feel special. They're that elite group, just like you have when you go to your grocery store and you get your special, you get a special discount. Well, it's not about tit for tat, but it's so much more about, I want to be part of something, and I have the same kind of relationship and loyalty because you've been good to me and I want to be good to you, and I respect what you do and how you do it. So this little scenario in the back of the book literally lines out what you can do, both mixing a handwritten note, an event. We have so many good events that we enjoy at Workman Success. We've got the booing event, which is at Halloween. We've got the egging event at Easter. We've got the client appreciation party at the end of the year. But doing something that is personal. You don't have to take all 50 out all at the time either, Verl. As an example, one of my top clients finally understood the power of top 50, and she rented a theater, and she had date night, and had got somebody to sponsor popcorn and somebody to sponsor drinks. They had a little fun thing, but it was a night out for the adults only, and she is just so jazzed now because it was a fun event. So now their next deal is they're going to put together a softball team so they can play softball together. So it's not about, I'm looking and hunting for you to give me something. It's just being a part of something that is so terrific because everybody feels safe, everybody feels connected, everybody feels special, and it converts to real transactions because you're top of mind and you're helping each other in a mutually beneficial way. Does that kind of describe it, Verl?
Yeah, let's take just a second and kind of break it down into segments. What Terry did that I thought was brilliant is we wrote an ebook and said, hey, you ought to reach out to your top 50 once a month. And as Terry was coaching clients, they were running out of things to say. What do I do? And so she actually wrote the different activities and optional things you should do each month. And so the goal with your top 50 is real simple. It's first identify 50. And the 50 is a magic number. It's not 75 and it's not 35. The number is 50. So you identify 50 people that you're going to have a personal touch with every single month. And a personal touch is defined as a face-to-face, a phone call. It's not a text message and it's not an email. It's an elevated touch. And so you have a personal elevated touch. The reason you saw the tracker that had, what your occupation is and your family, and you get all the information about the client, is when you have a personal touch, you can actually have a conversation with them that's not about, hey, I'm hungry, please send me a real estate referral. It's how are you and how's your family? It's about them, not about you. And if you do the right things and you give value during your conversation, then the business will take care of itself. So that's the first thing, is understanding what it is. And then the 50 initiative ideas that Terry put together, and this is all her, is here's what I'm going to do every month so I don't have to think about it and just put it in a plan. Terry, there's been some questions about, can I have a copy of this? And the answer is at the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you a link where you'll be able to download that ebook for free with Terry's initiative ideas and some of the trackers that both Brooke and Terry are using to be able to make their top 50 really work. Why is it better to work with somebody out of your top 50 than going after a stranger lead?
Well, when you look at the elevation of how to advance a relationship, everybody wants leads, but those are somewhere between suspects until we can connect with them, in which case then they become a prospect. And then the next level is they finally do talk to us or whatever, and now they're a customer. And then once we've sold them or worked with them, they're a client. Well, when you work the lower part of the chain, that is an enormous amount of time and money. When you are looking at the upper part, which is taking that client and making them an advocate, and then you're in a confidant. Then you're working the top of the food chain, which people will have no problem totally recommending you. So we see that the people that produce the most are working the top of the chain instead of trying to spend the time and energy like a garden. Though, all the work's done on the front end, Verl. I mean, you've got to get the land ready, you've got to get it all weeded out, you got to get it fertilized, you got to put in this, got to water it. That's the hard part. Go for the people who already know, love, and trust you, and make them part of your team and you part of theirs, and you're going to see some really great transactions come through.
I think we spend a lot of time and a lot of energy door knocking, cold calling, FSBOs, expireds, geographic farming, and while all those activities, buying leads from different online lead generation sources, whether it's Zillow or Boomtown or Commissions Inc. or Real Geeks. I mean, there's so many. There's an unlimited number of places that we can spend money to buy leads. But the best lead that ever comes into your business is what kind of lead?
Is the one who already knows you. I mean, it's the one that's referred.
Right.
And the good news about this is when you look at that tracker, Verl, and you look at how you get yourself in that success habit of going to the back of that thing and saying, okay, what can I do for the next 90 days? Don't look at December. That's way the heck out there. What can you start now so that you're ready and you've blocked it into your schedule so that you take the time to cherish and nurture this particular group of people who even on a terrible year, if you were inconsistent, is good for 20 to 30 extra transactions or leads and transactions a year. There's no bad side to this. There's no downside. It's all good.
Well, I'm sitting here listening to you, Terry. I'm thinking about, okay, so here we are in March. And what's going on in March? It gives me a reason to call all of my top 50. And it's really simple. How about March Madness?
March Madness. Let me tell you what, March 13th, you missed it, was National Potato Chip Day. Today's National Ravioli Day. I'm telling you, you can have so much fun reaching out to your people. It doesn't have to be, business as usual. Have some fun. These are friends of yours. These are people that you want to be able to say, hey, let me make your day a little bit better. And here's a referral. And were you able to get that new house and get that HVAC all set up when you give it to your HVAC guy? I mean, think about helping each other, because we all know that when you help each other, everybody wins.
So Terry, as you've worked with coaching clients and you've tried to get them to do their top 50 and they've struggled with it, what are some of the struggles that a coaching client would have, and how do you get past it?
Well, the first thing is identifying it was usually a problem. And I tell them, just carry around a piece of paper, and everybody that you give your money to, that you've got a good relationship with. I mean, and I start with the things you use for your own home. Do you have a good HVAC guy? Do you have a good painter, contractor, whatever? Who do you give money to in a real estate transaction all the time when you refer different services? And then think about people that love you. I mean, put your mom and dad down. I mean, if they like you, you know what I mean? Because they're going to say,
they ought to be good for one referral.
At least one. And if they're not, get them off the list. I mean, seriously.
Right.
They can be on multiple lists, by the way, right? They can be your friends, they can be your sphere of influence, they can be a past client, whoever would refer you.
Do you know anybody that doesn't have 50 people in their phone?
That's a really good one, Verl, because so often people go, I don't know 50 people. I'm like, you do too. You're lying. You know 50 people, unless you're in witness protection, you know 50 people. And here's the thing. If you will just reach out and be friendly and be and really be gracious about being grateful. It's a gratitude thing. I'm grateful to have you in my life because I know that you already know I don't have to prove myself. I don't have to buy a ton of branding. I don't have to put out. You already know I am good at what I do, and I want to help people just like I helped you or just like you've helped me. I mean, to me, they're going to struggle with the first identification. The second level is, what am I going to do? And, that's why we have the scripts, the Ford script you referred to earlier. How's your family? How's your occupation? Where are you going on vacation? And then, or the apology script. I'll bet, I'm so sorry I've dropped the ball. And then you just figure out, based on you just think outside of yourself, what could I do to refer them? Send a note. Write a handwritten note. That is so powerful because that shows the energy on the paper. It shows intention, and it's there. I can't tell how many people will say, listen, I still have the note on my desk that you sent. It just makes them feel special.
I love that. And Terry, you do practice that. So a couple of thoughts that came into my mind as you're going through that. We started talking about how many of you have a phone. Start with the A's, right? And let's call them and just see if they belong in your top 50. So I counted my A's and B's and I got to 50. So just my A's and B's. So if there's 24 letters in the alphabet, I would get to probably, 1,000. Well, you can't have 1,000 people in your top 50.
Nope.
What about 100? We have somebody put on a comment saying, I could easily get to 100. It's not a goal to get more. It's a goal to get less. If you have 100, you got to break it down to the 50 people who are most likely to give you one referral a year. And here's the key. You're going to track how many referrals they give you in that year. And at the end of the year, hold a big client appreciation event. And anyone that's referred you at least one client gets invited. And if they don't send you one, then you take them off your list and put somebody else on the list. And the goal is every year to refine that list until you've got 50 people giving you a minimum of one referral a year. And this is a gold mine. This is how we stop working with strangers and we start working with more and more people that already, when someone's referred to you, it's been set up correctly. It's like a warm introduction, right? And so, they're less likely to make you want to discount your commission. They're less likely to shop you. They're less likely to question your expertise, knowledge, and ability to help them with the purchase or sale of their home. So it just makes a big difference. Terry, I love that you have so much energy around the top 50, and thank you for all your input on creating real activities that you can do with your top 50 so we don't even have to think about it. Are you okay staying on with us for just a minute as we kind of talk to Brooke a little bit?
Oh, absolutely, because Brooke took one of the ideas in there and she brought it to the next level, bless her little heart. On birthday cards, she just outshopped us on that one. Go ahead, Brooke.
So, Brooke, as you listen to Terry talk about the top 50 and what it is, as Terry's kind of defined it, is there anything you would change in the definition or the way that you look at your top 50 that might be different that would be helpful to our listeners?
That's a great question, Burl. As Terry was talking, I was thinking it's fantastic for people to equate it to that VIP entrance when you're going to a concert. And so I know that I can speak personally from this, and I don't go to a lot of concerts, but you have that special entrance, you have that special ticket, and when you go and you enter in there, I mean, you feel like on cloud 9, and you walk into the suite for that concert, and you have your personal waiter or waitress for that event, and you just get treated a little bit better. And I think just continuing to think of these 50 people as our VIPs or as our MVPs, and then just continue to dig deeper in that relationship.
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad that you picked up on that. Terry used to talk about the opening ceremonies to the Olympics and what a great thing that is, and creating that VIP experience prior to showing up and doing a listing presentation. And the same thing applies to your top 50 and creating that exclusive group. And I'm not even afraid to tell someone, hey, Brooke, you're in my top 50. You know what that means, don't you? That means I'm counting on you for at least one referral this year, someone who's going to buy or sell a house. Can I count on you for that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people, they all want to help.
Well,
and they say, absolutely.
I hope you answered. I just hope you answered yes. It sounded like you were thinking about it for a minute, Brooke.
No, I'm sorry. I was trying to give you a little time. The answer is yes.
Good. Nice save. Talk about relationship before opportunity, what that means to you.
Yes. So RBO is something I refer to quite a bit in my business and with our team, and it's relationship before opportunity. And I dig in deep with my team on this about just focus on building the relationship and deepening the relationship before you even look at that opportunity. And that makes things, it's priceless. And as Terry showed in that top 50 tracker, knowing what profession they're in, or knowing, at one point I added another column that was important things about them. So knowing if you're a runner, or Virl, you're a swimmer, you know, just different things that you know about them where you can easily send a quick article and say, hey, I was thinking about you today. And just doing that quick move means, I mean, it's priceless for them.
Yeah, I love that. And people are commenting on that. Relationship before opportunity, RBO. It's don't focus on the transaction, focus on the relationship, and the transaction will take care of itself.
That's right.
And when you have a relationship with someone and things go wrong in a transaction, you get through it. But when there's no relationship, it gets personal really fast and it becomes confrontational. So relationships not only create opportunities, but they solve problems.
Absolutely.
So how have you had the greatest success with your top 50, and talk a little bit about what you do with your team?
Yes, so I'll talk a little bit further about the top 50 in just a second. But as far as with our team, I'm always talking about the RBO and the relationship before opportunity. And as we talked about earlier on the webinar, if you don't have 50 people, and I'll tell you right now, everyone, a quick tip. If you want to know how many people are in your phone, you go to the A's and you scroll down as far as you can, and you'll see how many contacts you have in your phone. And like Virl said, just with the A's and B's, he got to 50. So guaranteed that you have more than 50 people in your phone. But what you want to do is, if you don't have maybe you're not from the area that you're selling real estate in, so your sphere of influence isn't as large as it would be in your hometown, then you need to get out and meet people, and you need to shout from the rooftops that you are in real estate. And so I recently formed a meetup.com group, and I know that there's a slideshow there, or there's a slide of it on the slideshow. Meetup.com, for those of you that don't know, is a free group to join. There are a ton of different groups with focusing on popular events, game nights, brewery trails, all sorts of different things, running groups. You can start your own group or you can join one. To join one is free. I really wanted a working moms group. I had found that there were single moms, there were just moms, there were working women, but there was not a working moms group. And so I really wanted to personally connect with working moms. But getting out there, and just even if you don't want to start your own group, then go to 1, 2, 3, 10 different groups. They have meetups all the time, and it's just getting to know more people. And then stick with that relationship building. So consistency is key. You can't just go one time and get discouraged if you don't come out of there with any clients. And then forward the attendee. So that's a common script that we use with Workman Success Systems. And for those of you that don't know, it stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And so there are a few team members that are on my team that get really nervous going to networking events. And one of my team members went to a meetup.com event last night. And I said, hey, if you get nervous, just forward people. And that's a great tip for people that get nervous in those networking at those sessions, because they don't know what to say. So go through, ask about their family and have that conversation, and then ask about their job. What do they do for work? Then ask about recreation. You know, what do you like to do for fun, and dreams? Any goals for travel? Do you want kids someday? And so on, and continue there. And then that's a great way to continue building the relationship, and then continue to go over and over again. So they see you, they see your face, they get to know you deeper. And just a side note, I started my meetup.com group 3 months ago. I try to have one meetup each month. And the first one, I think I had a couple ladies. The next one, a couple ladies. And then this last one, I had 3 other ladies show up, and 2 of them said, hey, can I get your card? We're looking to move, and I want to give you a call. So those are pretty good odds for me.
Yeah, that's actually amazing. And there's people asking questions about Ford, and Ford's one of those dialogues. I don't even know who invented it. It's been around in sales forever and ever and ever. And, I teach it to my kids. It's how do you make friends at school? How do you make friends when you're in a new church group? How do you make friends when you go on a camp out or a retreat or where you're people you're not comfortable with? And Brooke, you talk about it like it's no big deal. It's scary for a lot of people to meet people. They're not comfortable. They love real estate and they want to help people, but they don't know how to build that relationship and understanding how to ask questions about your family, about what you do for work or what do you do for fun or, what's your goals this summer, what do you want to do next, your dreams. Being able to ask that and be genuinely interested is where relationships start.
Yeah, and doing it with agents too. I mean, there are a lot of networking events that realtor associations hold, and so it's great to know who you're writing offers for or working with on the other side too.
It's a good life principle, really. It's not just someone you're trying to sell something to.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about what you do with you got your fun cards here. And so you're taking this top 50 concept and you're saying, okay, I've developed my top 50 people that I'm going to spend a higher level of focus on to make sure that they know that I'm at the front of their mind and I'm counting on them for business this year. Now, birthday cards goes into that top 50.
Yes. And I just want to point out that a lot of times my coaching clients think that you need to spend money on these top 50. So we're not saying, that top 50 initiative that everyone's going to get a copy of at the end of this call that Terry put together is absolutely phenomenal. Not everything in there costs money. And so I want to just put that out there that if you don't have a huge budget for staying in touch with your top 50, again, you're just trying to create relationships. So meeting them for lunch or do coffee because it's cheaper or do a play date with your kids or a date night with your spouse. There are so many different ways that you can connect with the people in your top 50 and take it further. So one of the things taking further that I do is I have each one of the members in my top 50 complete a Google form. And if you are not familiar with Google Forms, they are super easy to use. Just Google it after the webinar and you can go through and create your own. I created one that it asks for the person's name and their birth date. If they are married, it asks for their spouse's name and birth date. Also, if they are married, it asks for their wedding anniversary. And then if they have kids, it asks for the kids' names and birth dates. And then they complete it. I make a joke about it. I just say, hey, my mom always, and she really did say this, but I always said, hey, my mom always said I should own a Hallmark store because I don't care about the gifts on my birthday or on special events. I really want a nice, genuine card that says lots of nice things. And that's what I like to send people. So on these cards, we created, our graphic designer created these cards. And funny enough, I sent these out my first year in the business to my top 50. And I really didn't hear, there were a couple people that reached out and said, thanks for the card. And I thought, man, I'm missing something because I know if I send out or if I receive a card on my birthday, I'm sending a nice text or message or phone call saying, hey, thanks for thinking of me. But I needed to take it one step further. And that's what we continue to talk about with the top 50 is digging in deeper and creating deeper relationships. So I thought, okay, we're going to put a crisp $1 bill in the kids' birthday cards. We're going to put lotto tickets in the spouse or in the male and female birthday cards and the adult birthday cards. And it's amazing. I've shared with Verl and Terry the videos that I get from my clients' kids saying, thanks for the $1 bill and all the cute photos and texts and messages on Facebook. So it's definitely gone a step further. And then a nice message on the inside. I do personalize them and sign my name for each one. So my awesome admin staff addresses them and puts them on my desk in an envelope. So pre-addressed, pre-stamped everything, and then I just sign them, put a special message on them, and put them in the mailbox.
Such a simple idea that gets such amazing results.
Oh, and we have some of the pictures. So just these are a couple pictures of the little kids that I get that, they're just so adorable. And then I shared a copy of this card too because this was a family that just had a baby, and I always send a little kind of our thing is we send a personalized elephant, a nice little soft blanket with the baby's name on it. And I used to just have it shipped to their door, but again, I wasn't getting like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And I want that amazing, that VIP, that concierge level service. And so what I did is I ended up starting to have them shipped to me, and I ordered personalized Grand Allure Home Group wrapping paper. And now we wrap it, we put a beautiful bow on it. Verl, it's just like your wife, you know, she loves the presentation of the package, and the packaging is so huge. And so that's what we do. We changed it. And now I go and see the baby and drop off a gift. And so this was such a nice note that said, your gift for Caleb was unexpected and greatly appreciated. And the key here is thank you for always thinking of our family. And I just loved that because she's referring to all the birthday cards, you know, all the different ways that I stay in touch and keep an eye on how they are doing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a little bit humbling when you recognize the impact you're making on people's lives with such a simple gesture.
It is, yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely heartwarming. Some of the other things, so this here, what everyone's seeing is an example of our Giving Circle event on the left side, and then our Wine with Moms group. So these are just a couple more ideas that I love to offer people, again, for networking. So even if you have your top 50, you still should be getting out there as a realtor. You want to get to know as many people as possible. You should be adding names to your database on a daily basis and to your sphere of influence, to your Facebook, friends, Instagram, etc. So a group of us in the Grand Rapids area created the Giving Circle, where all of us meet once a month, and we each have agreed in advance to donate $100 per month to a local charity or organization, nonprofit. And so we meet, and whoever's home we meet at that month gets to choose who they are highlighting as their nonprofit and who we're donating to for that month. And so it's awesome. It's $1,000. We have 10 women at $100, so we donate $1,000 a month. People ask why we don't do 12, and it's because January we're gearing up and getting the calendar set for the year, and December we typically volunteer with our families so we can teach our kids how to give back, and we do that usually with our time and do it all together as a separate event. And then the Wine with Moms is just another example of, at one point I was standing outside my kids' school picking them up, and one mom was just she was blown away. She'd had a interesting day, and she said, man, I could use a glass of wine today. And a bunch of other moms just standing around said, me too. And all of a sudden we had created the Wine with Moms group. And so we meet once a month and just kind of share, you know, everyone brings an appetizer and we just share stories, talk about our lives. It's amazing because I get to know when my kids get invited to their kids' house, I know who they're going to play with and I know the families. So it's just diving in deeper. And I've helped 5 of those families. That's not everyone in the group there with the Wine with Moms, but I've helped 5 of those families move, and the group's only been formed for a year and a half so far.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think about all of the fun things that you're doing, and there's lots of questions. So when you're trying to put together your group of your top 50 and you want to get together on a regular basis, what if 3 of your people in your top 50, and this is a question from Eric, are busy? They're doctors, lawyers, they have whatever lives, they can't get together. How do you keep high influencers in your top 50 and meet with them when they don't have time to get together and have wine with the other moms?
Oh, well, Verl,
Yeah,
I'd like to.
Yeah, go.
I'm sorry, Brooke. Well, one of the things is that power of that handwritten note. So I always believe that after every event, whether you're only having 10 or 15 at a time for a wine and cheese or a, checkout potato chip night, that you send either thanks for coming or sorry we missed you. Because there are some people that's just not in their lives don't lend themselves well to that. But, you can, there's also a difference between popping in and popping by. I would think that when Brooke said she gave the, you know, the little elephant with the blanket for the kid, when you show up with that, there's a totally different energy that happens as opposed to just sending something via Amazon. So you have to look for, I think, a specificity to them and how they live their lives and when can you see them if possible. You can always do a one-on-one, but you know, with 50 people and having a busy life like Brooke, it'd be pretty hard to do that for everybody. But it just depends on the quality of the relationship. Wouldn't you agree, Brooke?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just saying you want to be belly to belly with these people once a year. So really that's once per week. And some of the people, I mean, we realize that some of the people on these trackers are close friends or family, so you're automatically seeing them more frequently. And I would say, you know, some of the people, you just need to figure out if they can't go to a Wine with Moms event or they can't do an evening giving circle event, you know, figure out when they are available. And maybe it's on their lunch break and they work downtown and they are in the healthcare industry. And so maybe they have a lunch break where you can go to them and just pop in and say hi, and it's a quick 30 minutes. I mean, there's no time limit here, but even as I said, I mean, if it's a date night, so they're able to spend time with their spouse, but then you are as well, and you're all spending time together. So I think there's always a way, and for those pop-bys, I mean, and I don't even want to call it that because I'm big on, I don't like someone just showing up at my house because I need to have makeup on and be dressed the way I want, you know, so I know that I don't prefer that. So I don't ever just show up unannounced to someone's house. I'm always, hey, can I stop by, you know, tomorrow at 2:00? I'm always kind of setting that appointment.
The other thing that I think sometimes we overcomplicate the definition of top 50, and it's simply having a personal touch. And it's okay to pick up the phone and say, how's your family? I just wanted to check in and see how their new job is, or see how their kids are doing in the new soccer team, or whatever the last call was. So there's a couple of keys that I found to be really effective in top 50, and both Terry and Brooke do these like clockwork. The first one is whenever they have a touch, they always schedule the next touch. So what are we going to do next month with that person? And then I love Terry's small little thing that was, whenever you have a call, send a card. Thanks for taking time to talk to me on the phone today. It was fun to catch up with you. I look forward to speaking with you next week. And when you do that, those simple little things, the calls and the cards, then the other opportunities will expand. A lot of times people don't want to get with you because they don't know if they like you or not yet. And so as you work on the relationship and you start doing the small things, the relationships build. And then pretty soon you find some things that you have in common, so that when you do to get together, it's doing something you both enjoy outside of real estate. And that's how real relationships are built. So let me go ahead. Brooke, final thoughts on the top 50?
The only thing I was just going to say, you just mentioned soccer, and that's another thing is I always volunteer to be the soccer mom for my kids. You know, just kind of another thing to think about is I always volunteer to do that because people can see, it's a great way for them to see how organized I am and on top of communication and that sort of thing. So anytime you can do something like that, I highly recommend it.
Let me one of the questions that came up from one of our attendees, and we've had a lot of good questions, and some have been answered with text, but you mentioned doing a Google survey, using a Google form to ask people who they are and tell you their birthdays. Will you expand on that just a little bit for our listeners?
Absolutely. So if you Google, so get in your internet browser and just type in Google Forms, it'll come up with the top search. It says Google Forms free online surveys for personal use. And what you do is you click that. There's another button that comes up and says go to Google Forms, and it's free. So as long as you're signed up within your Gmail, you can start a new form, and you start with a blank one. It's extremely easy to go through and set up, and it walks you through it. So you can name the form, you can change colors of the form, you can add your logo, you can add various questions, you can make those questions. As I said, I mean, some people if I have kids in there, I'm asking for a spouse, I don't want to make that a required field if it's not applicable. So I will list things and have it, you can tell it if you want, if that's a required response or answer in that area. You can have multiple choice questions in there, short answer, paragraph answer, date responses. I mean, it's super easy. Does that help, Brooke?
So Brooke, yeah, you bet. What are the 5 or 6 key things you want to know about everybody?
So my form literally asks the person in my top 50, their name and their birth date, because that's a big deal. And then also we didn't cover this, but in my top 50, if it's a husband and wife, I count them as 1. So don't count them as 2 in that 50. I usually say go with whoever you maybe have a better relationship with or you're closer to, and then just continue to stay close with the family. But you put in their name, their birthday. You want to know an email, a mailing address. Try not to go too fast. A phone number. And then, as I said, the spouse and kids, if applicable, and their birth dates. And I put in a space for, I think I put in 5 or 6 kids. I know my hairdresser has 6 kids, and I don't know many more people besides close to you, Verl, that have 6 kids. So when you put that, so just, I mean, you want to make sure that there's room for everybody. And then I will ask their wedding anniversary if applicable. And I think that's it. I mean, you can ask, let me see, I'm just kind of going through. I think that's it. And I just have at the top, I just say, you are one of my favorite people. So instead of calling them specifically the top 50 to them, I say, you are one of my favorite people. I'd love to do a better job at staying in touch with you. Please complete this when you're able. And then it's like anything else, you have to follow up and make sure they filled it out. And you don't want to annoy people, but just say, hey, did you have a chance to fill that out? And it automatically goes into, you can download it into an Excel spreadsheet from there and upload it into your CRM.
So this is a good question for both of you. I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment, but Sandy says, I've seen a lot of programs like this that involve high touches and building relationships, and it seems that women have greater success with these methods. Would you call that true or false? And could you maybe give me examples of men that have success with their top 50 as well?
Oh, I'd like to answer that first, Brooke, and I'll tell you why. Long before we had the 8651 in print, one of the top agents in the country just happened to be from Memphis, and Stanley, who was part of the Star Power family, would have all of the anniversaries and would call the men 3 or 4 days before their wedding anniversary and remind them that it was their 25th wedding anniversary coming up. Now, I have to tell you what, that was so powerful that people still talk about it because he never missed. And when you're thinking about 50 people, and some of them, like you said, are husband and wife already, how personal is that? And that's pretty personal. And yeah, women might be able to get by with a couple of things differently, but I don't see really any difference. When you have, if it's your servant heart to truly want to care for this group, then you'll be very creative regardless of what you're doing. But that would be the only thing Brooke didn't mention with that little guy with the little green shirt, thank you for the $1, that was done on social media. They posted it on her Facebook. And so she was able to leverage, basically implied endorsement from this little kid who got it. And people call and say, well, I'd like to be in your top 50. So you'll find that as you profile some of this, people having a great time at your picnic, people having a great time of, moms with wine. Very often, I will send a note to someone who was in a particular field. Here in Memphis, we have St. Jude. And if they had some accomplishment, I'll make a small donation to just say, I'm proud of you, made a donation to St. Jude in your name. Can't tell you, animal shelters, if you've got pets, there's plenty of ways to do it that aren't really particularly feminine, but are certainly introspective. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Do you think there's a difference, Brooke? I mean, does it have to be a feminine thing?
No, I don't think so at all. It's all about expectations and how you set it up. And one of the common things, sometimes people say, well, why all of a sudden am I hearing from you again? We graduated high school together 20 years ago. But that's where, like we said, we can go into the apology script and say, hey, I'm sorry. I know we were great friends and I dropped the ball and I haven't done a great job. And so I want to commit that we're going to, better our relationship or whatever. And no one's going to tell you no on that. I did put a quick link into my Google form into the chat window. That chat, I don't know if we're able to, I don't know if everyone can see that or if we can offer that as an additional bonus, but hopefully that helps.
Yes, so a couple of thoughts. To get a copy of the 8651 ebook, a copy of this presentation, the top 50 referral list tracker that's a Google form, go to workmansuccess.com/RIS gold. And you'll be able to download that. And I'll ask Chet to add that Google form for you so you can have a copy of that as well. And, I thought it was interesting. Joe said, hey, don't be sexist. It's not a man or woman thing, and not all men forget their anniversaries. And Joe, you're absolutely right. Matter of fact, I believe that good business principles are not gender or race or religion specific. Good business principles apply to everyone. Be honest and ethical in everything you do. Treat people fairly, the way that you want to be treated, and do the right things. Always do the right things. And it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. Those business principles apply. In the top 50, it could be top 50 business associates. It could be top 50 people from your high school that you had, played football with. It could be top 50. I mean, you could create your top 50 list from the people that you care about the most. And they don't have to be wine with friends or moms. It could be something completely different. It could just be, could be a phone call, or it could be, let's go get lunch together. I've got friends that I haven't talked to in years, but whenever we do talk, it's like we go back to high school and we talk about all the things that we did and the friendships that we had, and some have moved away and they're not in my great circle of influence. So the key is to think about who are the people that can have the greatest impact on your business, that are most likely to give you one referral because they care about you. Real estate comes up all the time. Comes up in every conversation. People are always talking about real estate. What's happening with the market? I'm thinking about remodeling. Should I get a new roof? What about moving? My kids have all moved out. I'm thinking about downsizing. And the key of the top 50 is to be at the front of the mind of your 50 people when that life event happens, so they think of you first. Everybody knows lots of real estate agents, but not everybody thinks of the great real estate agents first. They think of whoever is at the front of their mind when they make that decision. So let me give you that URL again. It's workmansuccess.com/RIS gold to download the things. And Terry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, that for me, the goal was not to be the realtor, but their realtor. So it's really about being top of mind and having Brooke so beautifully with relationship before opportunity. People want to work with people they know, like, and trust. And I think you've demonstrated that extremely well.
Yeah, great. So final thoughts from each of you on what we can do to develop gold from those relationships, other than what we already talked about today. Is there 2 or 3 things that you would say these are must-dos?
Well, I will just tell you that I've been in the business a lot longer than Brooke, and I still have a client who has given me 9 referrals over several years. And he's moved all over the country, and I get a holiday card now because they want me to know where they are. I mean, they are no longer like trading up and trading down. So my point is that when you invest in the relationship, it invests in you. But it's, again, you can't have commission breath on this. That's not what it's about. But yeah, you can certainly do more transactions. But like Brooke says, when you have the relationship before the opportunity and you really invest in it, be creative, be interested with what they do and what's happening in their lives, that just pays off 100 ways.
I love that. Final thoughts, Brooke?
Yeah, my final thought is just you're never going to have the perfect system. So as Verl always says, it's progress, not perfection. I would recommend you sit down and you start writing out your list of 50 people right now, and then start connecting with them and just rip off the Band-Aid and start doing it. It's not as hard as you think.
Love
Oh,
that.
God,
Everybody
so
on.
sweet.
I love everybody's enthusiasm. Ladies, thanks for another amazing RISMedia call. Tim with Homes.com, thank you for being part of the call and creating tools and resources for us to do a better job working with our golden people inside of our top 50. On behalf of RISMedia, Homes.com, and Workman Success Systems, everybody, thank you for being here, and watch for follow-up emails and survey after this webinar. We'll talk to you on the next webinar. Thanks, everybody.